All right, shalom family. How's everybody doing? May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Amen. We give all honor and praise to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, who is Abba, At. It's in Shem, Yahweh, At Shem, Yashva HaMashiach, At Shem Ruach HaKadosh, that we greet you in the ancient greeting of Shalom, peace upon your life. We're going to take a little break from our Having Been Led as We Believe series today, and we're going to talk about vision, right? Because it starts with vision, and that's what we're discussing today, that it starts with vision. Prayerfully, you had a great New Year's Eve, watch night, Freedom's Eve, and we're thankful and grateful for those that were able to join us yesterday. We're thankful and grateful for those of you who were able to assemble in different places, whether you assembled with us or someone else. We hope and pray that what you experienced was exactly what you needed. We hope and pray that what you experienced was exactly what you needed, and you were able to get out of it what you needed. So we're thankful and grateful for all these things that are happening and going on in your lives. And we give all honor to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, for it. Like we give all honor to the Most High for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And once again, we're taking a little break from Having Been Led as We Believe today, it being the first led to speak specifically on it starts with vision. That's what we're going to discuss, that it starts with vision. It's going to start and it's going to end with vision, because vision is seeing where you're headed, right? And so Shabbat Shalom to everybody. We're thankful and grateful to have you on. And hey, Brother Thomas, how you doing? And we're excited to continue to talk about this and be on this journey and to do what the Most High wants us to do. It's interesting when you try to put stuff up and it tries to automatically put stuff in there for you. But thank you very much for being on. Trying to make sure that we have all these things up and going for us. We're thankful for everybody on all the different platforms. Thank you for your support as we continue to grow. And I'm glad that we were able to start things off well and be blessed last night, and to be blessed every day this year, to be blessed with vision, to be blessed with the ability to see what's coming afar off. This year, we're now transitioning from now into Passover into from our year of pursuit, where we were pursuing the promises of the Most High, and now getting into living inside of that which we have pursued. And that is our goal now, is not just to be in a position where we are able to say, all right, cool, I'm pursuing after something, but we want to make sure to live inside of that which we have pursued. And one of the things that we have to be honest about then is that we have to have vision, because we live in a generation where people can't see, right? But they want to talk about, why can't I see? Well, you can't see if you haven't been able to have vision, and vision based off of something that is for you, something that is for your people, something that is for those who share your belief system, etc. A lot of people are focusing on vision, which is usually somebody else's vision. For if you don't have vision for yourself, there is somebody that has a vision for you. And usually that means that, and unfortunately, that can mean at times that somebody who has a vision for you, somebody who has a vision for you, it might not really be for you. In other words, somebody might have a vision, but it might only be for their benefit, and it may not be for you. It may not be for your community. It may not be for your family. Thank you, Boom Shaka. So if you're going to talk about vision, you've got to, or if you're going to talk about whatever it is this year, it's got to start with vision. And a lot of people miss that, right? A lot of people are going to miss the vision. But they're going to try to do all these things. So you're going to see all these New Year's resolutions, right? I went on TikTok this rising, and woke up a little later than usual because of our watch night service last night, And when I got ready to come on today, TikTok already has a spot on there where it has little things that you can put up and post, and what you want to talk, what's going to happen to you in the New Year's, and random things that are going to spin around the wheel. And when you see it, kind of like that magic 8 ball back in the day, and it kind of shakes up your vision for you, and it tells you this is what's going to happen. A lot of people are just going to go with it. Because somebody has started something up for us, right? Somebody has told us this is what we have, this is the vision we have for your life, right? And a lot of us are just going to roll with that vision that somebody else has. And so you've got to take your vision by the horns, so to speak, right? You got to take the bull by the horns. You've got to be willing to wrestle, to do whatever it takes to be able to make sure that your vision is concrete and that you're living inside of vision. Many of us are not living inside of vision, at least not our own vision. Right. And thank you for sharing the live. We appreciate it. Thank you for the likes. Thank you all across all the platforms that we're on this rising. And you have to have a vision for your life. It starts with vision. Right. It's going to start with vision. And if you don't have a vision for your life, then comprehend you're not really going to be able to start much. And if you do start it, you're definitely going to have a hard time finishing that which you started, or living inside of that which you have completed, right? If that's where this is going, if you have no vision, if you come on, like for example, people come on to this live or different things like that. If you have a vision of, hey, I'm just going to, make fun of people or whatever that happens on lives all the time, right? And people might miss something. Somebody in one of these live sessions, excuse me, might have something for you that's going to change your whole perception of self, help you to get to the next level. But many people are going to go ahead and worry about other things that don't even have to do with what's going on, right? The reason is because many of us don't comprehend like vision. Right? And many of us are not thinking about how something's going to affect us down the road, right? Thank you very much. Is it just BBNN? Okay, thank you. So a lot of people are going to miss vision, or things that you need to have vision. That's why, even the Bible talks about things like people will have ears but will not hear. They will have eyes but will not be able to see, right? Because if you can have eyes, but if the eyes don't work correctly, you're not going to get what you need, right? If you can have physical eyes but still have an issue. You can have emotional eyes and still have an issue seeing what's going on emotionally. You can have spiritual eyes and still have a problem with pneumatical thoughts. You can have eyes, psychological eyes and still miss what's for the soul. People can be deaf to wisdom is the great way to even put it, right? And it usually lacks with vision. Everything's going to start with vision in this year, whatever you're pursuing, right? But you can't even pursue anything. That's the problem, is people are going through an exercise, which is the blind leading the blind, due to the fact that the blind are trying to lead you, right? Or you're blind yourself trying to lead yourself. If you can't see where you're going, you're going to hit everything on your way to it. And usually what happens is when people are blind and they start hitting stuff on their way to it, sometimes people just give up or wait for somebody else to guide them. And now here you are where, it's a lot better to be guided by somebody but see what's going on rather than have to fully trust in what somebody else is talking about along the journey, right? And Shabbat Shalom to everybody who's coming on all the platforms. Thank you very much for being on with us, especially those of us who were coming back on from Watch Night service last night. We had a great time. It was kind of chill, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the environment. So this is the vision. This is, we're taking a break today from our series. We'll get back to part 20 probably on Monday, we'll get back to, I guess, tomorrow, because we'll just do Q&A. But it would be wrong of us to start off the year and not make sure people remember, hey, what is the vision? Where are you headed? What is the goal? Right? In everything that I do. Matter of fact, if I'm on TikTok and we're putting up the videos and dealing with people and we get into apologetics, having defending our stance, having a defense for that which we believe, and being able to explain that which we hope inside of, I'm able to do that because I have a vision of where I'm going. Amen, Sister Osha. Amen. You know, my wife said I look forward to having a self-discovery session for the queens. Amen. Yeah. You know, and we're doing so for our men, we're doing so for our children, right? It's a vision plan. And so, like, even if I'm making a video that you guys have seen many of now, and I'm talking to somebody, even if it's 59 seconds, if it's 15 seconds, if it's 3 minutes, if it's whatever, if it's these sessions that get close sometimes to 3 hours long, I'm able to speak on these things because I know where I'm headed, right? So a lot of people have an issue even when people are giving you things and you have to start defending your stance. A lot of people have issues even in defending their stance because they're trying to defend their stance without actually knowing where they're headed. So, you know, like when we get people that say, stop talking about the past doesn't matter. Well, that's a sign of somebody that doesn't know where they're headed, because vision is something that shows me where I'm going. And now I come back to where I am and I can evaluate where I've been, right? The past, the present, and the future. That's eternity. That's a real eternal being. That's a holistic presentation of the eternal being, right? When I can envision where I'm headed and where I'm going, I get to a different place, a different mindset, a different thought process, you know. And but vision is crucial. It's necessary for where you're headed. It's going to start with vision. You're going to see, once again, so many people, New Year's resolution, right? And they're going to say, I'm going to lose the weight. Problem is they don't see how they're going to do it, and they haven't committed to the vision. They haven't committed to the process. They're committed to speaking it, and that's great. However, you know, they're committed even possibly to having faith in that they can do it. But okay, vision is faith and works coming together, right? But some people don't even have a far way to at least say I have the faith part down, right? But a lot of people are going to tell you, I'm going to reach this deal. We're going to demolish this type of oppression. We're going to make sure that people all come together. We're going to whatever it is, right? We're going to sing Kumbaya. My family's going to do this. I'm going to make this much money. I'm going to go to this level. I'm going to have this ability. All these different things, but no vision. If I were to say, how do you get there? Or matter of fact, vision is not even how you get there. Vision is just simply saying, where are you going? Like, what is the purpose of this exercise? What is the point? Christine said, you can't know, where you're going if you don't know where you came from. That too, yeah. You said, I'm doing good, but do better. Well, okay, thank you. I do me. So I guess if my best is not great enough for you, I mean, there's tons of other lives. Thank you for the critique, though. So once again, we're talking about vision, right? We're talking about vision. We're talking about, if you don't know where you're headed, then how are you going to get to where you're supposed to be, right? A lot of people are trying to tell us stuff, but they don't know where they're headed, right? A lot of people are talking about all this stuff, but they don't know where they're headed. If you don't know where you're headed, how are you going to get where you're supposed to be? And many people are going to start off this year with that, right? So that's why when somebody comes to me and says, man, you know, I'd like to be able to help out with something. What are you doing? They're saying, what's your vision? And I'm able to say, well, hey, if you want to help out, Yah's Land Project 83, we're working on getting the land together. Hey, you know what? We teach you how to grow food. And if you want to be part of the food network, be part of the food network. Hey, do you have a gift to be able to help with some type of stuff as far as working secretary or things of that nature, right? All these different things that you're having, like, you know, do you have the ability to do things? And we have a vision. We have a vision. We have different regions. We have different leadership. We have people in this part of the country, that part of the country. It's easier to come inside of a vision, right? Remember Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2, when people go there, people don't make, you know, they try to make this thing mystical, and it becomes so mystical. They make the spiritual so mystical that it's no longer practical, right? The practicality is lost on people. A lot of people don't want to listen. A lot of people, even when they come into this, they've heard so much mysticism that they don't actually believe there's any realism. And the reality is that, you know, this has to be practical application. It doesn't work if people are coming in, there's no practical application, right? So you have to come inside something that's at least started. And then people will come in and say, okay, I can take this part of it, right? But Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, after Habakkuk has argued over and over again, hey, this is what's, you know, how could you show me this? He saw a vision, right? But he thought he saw the whole vision. He wasn't hoping, right? He saw just a piece of what was going on. He knew what was coming. He knew what the enemy would do. And he was sitting there saying, I'm anxious about it. I don't know what's going to happen. Why would you allow this to happen? We're supposed to be your children. How are we going to get to the next level? I don't understand this. I don't understand that, right? And then after he finishes, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1 is, okay, I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to get in position. I'm going to stand and watch. I'm going to be who I'm supposed to be for my people. But I'm just going to sit here and wait. And as soon as he was quiet, first response for the Most High is, all right, now I need you to write down the vision and make it plain upon the tablets. I need you to write down something that somebody can see it plainly. Write down the vision, apologetically, right? Homiletically speaking. I need you to write down something that somebody can see. I need you to speak something that somebody can see as you're saying it. I need you to live in a fashion that somebody can see. I need you to live writing down a vision and making the vision plain upon the tablets. That, watch this, now when people try to run with it in 2022, I was about to say 21, when people try to run with it in 2022, right now when they run with it, they will what? They run with it. So write down the vision, make it plain upon them. He that readeth it, when they read it, they can run with it, right? And understand that whatever the vision is, it will speak. Have the faith in the vision as you're doing the works as well. Don't just have faith alone, but as you're working this thing out, getting towards it, right? When you've made this, understand that everything that I say to you, everything that you get, everything that you're supposed to manifest, understand that you have to have a mindset that it will speak and it will not lie. And a lot of people are going to give up because, hey, I don't see it happen right away. It will speak and it will not lie, right? Whatever you see, it will speak and it will not lie. Whatever you're going through, oh man, I thought this was going to happen. I thought that I was going to meet this criteria already. I thought that I was going to, have this much money already. I thought that I was going to be married to this person by this time. I thought my credit was going to be great in this thing. Well, first of all, the vision that you saw, you have to have faith that it will speak and it will not lie, right? You have to write it down and make sure that it is plain. That means that every day you're about your vision plan. Every day you're about your vision statement, right? How many affirmations are you speaking as far as vision to yourself, and how often on how much on a regular basis are you speaking it, right? You said I should write down ours. Is my mind, but writing it seems great. Yeah, write it down. And even then, if you're writing it down, if you're speaking it, if you're saying it, if you're proclaiming it, if you write it down, if you're typing it out, if you're speaking it somewhere into a camera so that you can listen to it every day, whatever, have it in a position to where it can speak and it will not lie. See, one of the reasons you're writing it down is not only it will speak as far as it's going to reach everything that you said, but it speaks to you when you see it. It speaks to you. Do you have a vision posted somewhere? Do you have a vision for your marriage posted somewhere? Do you have a vision written out? My wife and I did this exercise, and we do this with everybody who gets married, that we do marital coaching and life coaching with. Do you have a vision where you write stuff out as far as when we get in an argument, this is how we're supposed to have our argument? These are our love languages, and so when we speak to one another, we will speak at this time. We agree that when we talk, we'll have 5 minutes for this person, 5 minutes for that person. You'd be surprised, writing out a vision. Even if you don't have to read it every time, I would suggest doing so, or having somewhere where it's visible so that accountability can be there. Nevertheless, you'd be surprised, just having a vision begins to change a lot of things. Having a vision begins to move a lot of things in your life. It's going to start with vision this year. He said, writing is your best friend. Amen. Right? So you're going to have a vision this year. A vision, no matter how many people are in agreement, because it's your vision. Right? Now, don't do a thing that because it's my vision, I can do whatever I want. No, like what are you supposed to do that nobody else can do except you? What is it you and your spouse are supposed to do that nobody can do except you who become one? What is it that your children are going to be blessed with because your vision is supposed to do these things, right? How much finance is it going to take? Write out how much money, but you got to have a vision plan. But write out how much money it would take. Like I have a certain amount in my head that we're going to need to make sure that we get the land. I also have a certain amount in my head that my family's going to need to reach certain levels. I have an amount in my head that my great grandchildren are going to need in order to make sure they're taken care of, that I can take care of the vision, which is my children's children will be taken care of. So if my great grandchildren take care of it, it means my grandchildren will be all right. But what is the vision? What have you written out? Right? You've got to write it out and make it what? Plain. Develop it to where it's plain. Meditate on it to where it's plain. Study what other people are saying, right? Who do what you're supposed to be doing. If you're supposed to crochet, right? Because that could be it. You could have, there are people who do a lot of crochet. Watch this. There's a brother, I don't know if he crochets his own stuff, but there's a bass player. But like, see how vision can happen. Like, there's a bass player who is called like Mono Neon, I believe, one of the greatest bass players I've ever heard, especially when it comes to funk or when it comes to things that are like, syncopated 16th notes. In other words, it's not like, when you listen to music, you're like, you listen to doom, 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 but you might hear some stuff. It's always offbeat, but it sounds real nice. It's nice and funky and stuff. It makes you want to energize. That's like he's really solid in that arena. And he's always wearing stuff that's his whole thing is mono neon, so he's going to wear a lot of like neon pink, neon yellow, neon green, things like that as part of his branding. And so somebody has to put his clothes together. A lot of times he wears like full crochet outfits. So there's somebody out there whose vision is to become a great crochet artist, right? And they actually make a lot of money with this guy who makes a lot of money playing bass, but tries to make sure that he presents himself in a certain manner. And so since he has a vision for himself, his vision actually allows for somebody else's vision. So somebody else said, I'm going to become great at crocheting. And he said, oh, okay, cool. Can you make my outfits for me? So now he wears these outfits that are based off of somebody else's gift that we would probably say, man, that's just a hobby. That's just something on the side. No, like somebody's making money. Somebody's has a business and probably gets other business where somebody comes to him and says, yo, who makes your clothes? I'd like somebody to do something like that for my children, or I'd like something for myself, or maybe they can make me a blanket. And he's able to say, sure, go to so-and-so. So he might get free stuff from the person now who crochets, right? Unless he asks for certain things. The person might just give him stuff to put on because every time he wears it, he's wearing somebody's vision. Right? So you don't see you might, so the person who's into playing bass and stuff comes on and listen to him, but is seeing somebody's vision. They're seeing his vision when he's playing. They're also seeing somebody's vision with what he's wearing. He also has goggles sometimes that he wears. Sometimes he doesn't want you to see his face. So he has goggles and things that he wears. So that's somebody's company. Somebody makes that. There's a vision going on, right? And you got to understand, if you're not in your vision, then there's division. And like we said before, the division is dangerous for a few reasons. Number one, if it's not your vision, you got to trust that somebody else's vision is going to help you, because they might have a vision for you, but it might not be something that they're doing and putting together to help you accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish, to help you get to the goals you're supposed to get to help you to reach the plateaus you're supposed to reach, right? So you got to comprehend that's your vision, and you got to remain faithful to it. That's why we talk about vision, purpose, value, right? We talk about that quite often, because you have to have a vision, you have to know where you're headed, then your purpose is set up, because that's daily manifestation to get where you're going. And then lastly is value. Value, do you value it? What is the value on it? If you don't value it, right? Like the Most High can value your vision, however, he can't force you to live in what's for you. Right? At some point, vision has to ooze off you. That's charis or charisma. That's who you are. Right? That's what grace is. Grace is literally who you are. The grace of the Most High is literally who the Most High is. So you're able to catch his vision, because everything about the Most High speaks to who he is. There's not anything that he does that's wasted concerning vision. My wife said, there's more than enough for us all. What you bring is special, so do it. Exactly. Even when we're talking about coming together and living together and visiting one another and doing all these things we're starting to get in the habit of doing, and that we're going to be stronger in this year, guess what? Like, it comes with vision. You're coming inside somebody's vision, and you need to bring something to the vision. You need to bring your vision to the vision. And we need to put it together like puzzle pieces. Right? But then it says, I have a vision to reach the light at the end of my journey. Amen. But we can also live in the light every day, too. That's what purpose is. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's the vision. You're supposed to hit that goal. But then there's light that you're supposed to have inside. Every day, you are the light. So all it is light, you living in purpose every day and having the proper value so that your light doesn't dim out on the way, so that people can see the light and see the vision in you, and also see the vision where you're going. It's just basically vision coming to vision. Purpose meeting vision. Value meeting vision. Right? And that's what the goal should be for us. That's what my goal is. And everything that I do, I'm attached to a vision. If anybody has an argument about what I have, and somebody says, "Man, where did you come up with that? That ability to debate or this or that or whatever? Were you on a debate team?" Well, I've done some debate in class, and I can't even say I'm on a debate team, but I can debate with some of the best of them. Right? The reason is because I comprehend vision. Even when we talk so much about culture, culture is just setting up vision. I am listening to Bodies G. Okay. Yeah. Even with getting into stuff like the pineal gland. Even when we get into stuff like the pineal gland, right? You got to understand its vision, right? The pineal gland. We were talking about, hey, watch being calcified, things of that nature, right? It's vision. Well, thank you. Yeah, we try to be not just patient. We try to be long suffering. Patience runs out. Maybe that's why you guys think I'm so patient. Patience actually runs out. So we do long suffering. Long suffering and patience come from two different words. So patience means that I can cut that thing off. And a lot of people have patience. Matter of fact, they changed long suffering. That Galatians 5:22 and 23, love, joy, peace. Long suffering is what it says forth. But a lot of people change it to love, joy, peace, and patience. But peace allows you to suffer long, even towards your vision. Right? Yep. Praise Yah, Hallelujah. How you doing, Boom? Thanks for being on. Shabbat Shalom to everybody coming on all the platforms. We appreciate you. Whether you're watching this live or watching this later on, or listening to this live or listening to this later on, we appreciate you for being on. And, it's going to be about vision. Vision is where it starts. A lot of people are just going to say, it's the New Year's. Last year was Happy New Year. And everybody does this. A lot of people do this. Well, not everybody. However, a lot of people do this every year. We go through all this stuff, go through all this hell, through all this frustration, right? And then we just say, Happy New Year's. Like, I don't know what's coming up next, but it's better. You heard people say that, by the way. Some people are still stuck in 2019. That's why people are still fascinated in discussing COVID-19. A lot of people are still in 2019 and still haven't made their way into 2020, let alone 2021 and 2022. They're living without a vision. They're just like, 2019 happened. Okay, well, something great's going to happen in 2020. And I remember, a lot of us, including where we were at, we were telling people that, this year is the year of 2020 vision. And so we're expecting, 2020 manifestation as well. And a lot of people, as soon as COVID hit, they gave up on it. Churches gave up on it. People said, we're not going to come and worship anymore. We're not going to, we don't know when we're going to start stuff. We don't know how we're going to do things virtually, all these different things. Meanwhile, 2020 was one of the best years of my life. And in 2021, people were still like, oh, we thought we were going to get out. Now it's terrible. Now they're still trying to do this, blah, blah. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. I don't know if I'll be able to work, blah, blah. 2021, we continue to excel. Even when they cut our stuff off in 2021. We were cut off of YouTube. We were cut off of TikTok. Had to start whole new channels and try to get a whole, different base to pop up. And both times, or all the times, because this has happened quite a few times in my life with social media. But all these times that it's happened to us before, we've had tens of thousands of people. We've reached tens of millions of viewers. Like we've done these things already on platforms, and we keep getting shut down. Right. However, we had to make a decision, and by being faithful. There were some things and it was difficult, and there's some things that even I wasn't able to get to because of certain things that were taken away from us, yet we still hit a whole bunch of benchmarks, right? Because we still have a vision, and we're catching up to a lot of things. Why? Because we still have a vision. But a lot of people, they just go, Happy New Year's. A lot of people for last night was just Happy New Year. That's it. No Freedom's Eve, no watch night service, no what am I going to be doing next year, no how will I grow, no words of affirmation spoken over the year. It was just, New Year's over, we can go ahead and drink. Hey, let's drink a toast to the fact that it's going to be a new year next year. If it's a new year, though, and you bring in that old wine, you bring in that new wine, right? You're trying to bring a new wine into that old wineskin. Your year is still 2019, but you're trying to have a 2022 wine, a 2022 spirit, and it's not going to fit. It's going to burst wide open. Boone said it was great. I'm a truck driver. The roads were clear because everyone stayed home. Hey, I do a lot of traveling myself, so I definitely comprehend that. And there's actually a few truckers that are on here and have been on other things. So I know you guys definitely had It was definitely kind of cool. I actually was trying to become a trucker at one point. I'm glad it didn't happen the way it did, or else I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. But I actually was trying to become a trucker at one point because I am introverted, believe it or not. So it would have been nice to have some time to think about things. Take care of things. No money's coming in at the same time. But I'm glad that it worked out the way that it did. I'm glad it worked out for you too. Doris says the real New Year is spring, though. The holiday is in worship of Janus. Yeah, well, we know that. March, as far as even for Greco-Roman stuff, for Gregorian and Julian calendars, we absolutely comprehend that. If you know December is the number 10, then obviously there's something going on that's weird, right? And we know March, February, April, May, even June. That's just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you get to July and August. That's after Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar, and then you get back to September, October, November, December, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, we comprehend that. As a matter of fact, we, even though the New Year for us starts before Passover, our New Year celebration where we kick stuff off is April 15th. So I get what people are saying, but regardless, whether you want to say, okay, I'm not going to do it till then, what I'm saying is still constant, right? It's still the same thing. It's still, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody coming on. The goal is still the same. The goal is still, do you have a vision? Because if you don't have a vision, you're going to have a hard time. If you can't see what's coming, if you don't have a certain thing you're aiming for, right? If you don't know what direction the dartboard's in, it's senseless to throw the dart. You might kill somebody. Right? Right? You might take an eye out or something. You might put a hole in the wall rather than a hole in the dartboard, right? You got to make sure that you're there. Before you can train even in how to, hit the dart and throw the dart, you got to first at least make sure that you know where it's going, right? Even the words that's used for sin, it means to miss the mark. It means literally that somebody is pulling back, pulling back the arrow on the bow and is getting ready to release. And is aiming, right? And they release, and when they let go, right, they're hoping it hits where they're aiming for, right? And when you miss it, that's all sin really is. And so therefore, all of us have sinned because all of us miss the mark. All of us sin daily because all of us miss the mark. None of us are perfect, right? But the goal is to at least see where you're headed, because even if I miss the mark, it's better to miss the bullseye by centimeters than it is to miss the whole entire board. And a lot of us miss the board on certain things or give up on certain things because we don't have direction. That's really, in essence, what we're talking about. Shalom 1RB57, how you doing? Breezy Mama says, could you do a session on what holidays to celebrate and how in the future? Sure, we've done a little bit of that already. I know you're familiar with that probably because I think you've been on with us for a little while now. But I mean, we talk about those things. We have Hebrew holy days, or even watch night service last night. That's a holy day that we are into and things of that nature because of what it means, where it comes from, and how it gives honor to the ancestors and helps us locked in and focused on freedom, be it a vision, right? So yeah, but we can definitely add that in when we get back to our series, haven't been led as we believe. Maybe if you remind me the Q&A session tomorrow, maybe we can go over that tomorrow some more. But these are the things that we're discussing. These are the things that we have to press forward and that we have to realize, that we have to think about, that we have to comprehend, right? The vision plan, right? The vision plan. So this year it has to start with vision. Whatever you're talking about, whatever New Year's resolutions you have, it better be attached to a vision, right? If I don't care if you're talking about April 15th, I don't care if you're talking about Passover, I don't care if you're talking about I'm going to wait till March, whatever it is, it's the same thing. Matter of fact, every day should be treated with respect for your vision. If you don't know where you're headed, it's going to be a tough time, right? Like your years, even not just having yearly vision, what is your life's vision? What is your life's work? Not your life's job, but your life's work, right? This is all vision oriented. Boone said, when Elohim said, come out of her, my people, in the book of Enoch, he talks about 2 ways to leave. Yeah, I mean, in essence, the main thing to focus on, regardless of where you're reading in any books, Apocrypha, Enoch, Jasher, etc., the main thing is really, is going to be talking about, culture. It's going to be talking about knowing the kingdom. If you don't know the kingdom, if you don't know the reality and the ways and things of that nature, you're going to miss a lot, right? And a lot of us come up, like we said, we come up incomplete, we come up missing the mark because we don't have vision, So we have to make sure that we comprehend, what it is to, what is it? We have to make sure that we are aware of what the word is saying and what the culture is saying, because in the end of the day, that's why we're so big on culture, laws, kingdom law, marital law, universal law, natural law, laws of attraction, law of first mention. This is all talking about, making sure that we are supposed to be in position, right? Making sure that we're supposed to be in position. So, we have to get to that place, to where when it says, come out of her and things like that, we have to get to that place where we have to even have there. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I'm sitting here going over stuff in my mind. If we're going to talk about coming out of her, right, so to speak, coming out of the system, first things first, what is there for us to come out of and go into? That even goes to Chazon or Revelation, chapter 12. The woman, which is Israel, this woman that's being talked about. You have to ask yourself once again, like this woman who's being talked about, Israel who's being talked about. It says there clearly that we're supposed to make sure that we go into a place and a position where we can be defended against the enemy who's constantly trying to pick off the remnant. There has to be a place where the remnant can go to, and Israel needs to already have something. We keep talking about when, it comes back, or we're talking about going to Israel. The Bible makes it very clear all over the Bible that Israel should be together, and we should have a place to where we can definitely go to get away from certain things, right? And if we are not going to make sure that happens, if we're not going to make sure that happens, then we're going to be in trouble. If like-minded people, the people that eventually might be grafted in, etc., if we're not going to make sure that these things come together, we're going to be in trouble. Like if we don't come together, if we don't have our own standards and things like that, we're going to have a tough time. And that's the main thing. We keep missing that you have to have your own vision, your own culture, your own way of thought process. What it is that you do for your people has to be something that's for you. Everybody else is okay doing things for themselves. Why not do something that's for you? Matter of fact, a lot of the people that are committed to these long drawn out arguments or these statements that they make and stuff with any video that I say that mentions anything that might, say that people of color need to be treated with respect or our women need to be protected, etc. Everybody who says that from the jump usually comes from places where they're coming outside of culture. They're coming from places where they're going to beat up your culture. Matter of fact, some people just outright, if you look at some of the comments and stuff, whether they calling me the N-word or other things, some of these people are literally just going to make comments in which it's very clear that they're on here because they hate your culture. They know that your culture is civilization. And when I say civilization, understand the word civilization, the way it's thrown around. We think that it means this or that, or we say, oh, you're uncivilized. No. And if a person is what we consider to be racist, and they live in a racist culture, in their culture, the racist is civilized, and anybody who's not racist is uncivilized. In your culture, if you're about your people being honored, however, allowing other people to have free will and do what they do, but you believe you should have sovereignty and you should be able to take care of your people in a manner that's fitting for what you guys need, that's civilization for you as well. And so anybody outside of that is considered to be a savage. So in our culture, sauvage, which is just en français or in French, is just talking about wild. So somebody that's considered to be wild is basically somebody who's considered to be outside of your culture. That's why they call you wild. That's why they call you savage, right? That's why they call you ratchet. That's why they call you all these terms just mean you do not fit inside of our viewpoint for our culture, right? And that's all they're really saying. When you wear a do-rag or whatever, the do-rag is no worse than, the woman who wears, there's people that go outside and wear hairnets outside. There's white women that wear all types of stuff, and nobody says anything when they do it or whatever. There's white girls that go to school and they have like the little they're in high school but wearing the little 2-year-old, hairstyles or whatever. Nobody says anything to them, but you wear something that's, protective or whatever. That's because it's cultural. And matter of fact, the only reason you wear the bonnet technically is because they wore the bonnet, so you started adopting the bonnet. You used to wear head wraps. You used to wear a shawl. You had head wraps, and you would wrap your hair to indicate if you were young, if you were a child, if you were an adult but not married, if you were royalty, if you were young and married, older and married, if you've been married a certain amount of time. You had all these things already. Men sometimes in some cultures wrap their head, and they said and different things were meant by how they wrap their head. But you don't do it. But when you don't do it in somebody else's culture, now you're having these discussions with people that's not cultural, which means that you're having discussion that's not vision oriented according to your culture. So you're somebody else's vision that we're having these arguments in, right? So when you had this whole argument that was going on where the bonnet shouldn't be worn out in public, or the bonnet should be worn out in public, or whatever, like whose vision, whose conversation is that? Is that even yours? You see, like all this stuff, like how do we make the main thing if we're still arguing from somebody else's perspective? Okay. You let them out by the bright fire, and the other was by deep crevices. Okay. Amen. All right. Amen. And I'm with you on that. I'm trying to focus on the vision piece, but I do get what you're saying as far as what we're talking about, or what you're talking about, excuse me. And, whose standard are we living by, right? And even in talking about coming out by the fire, or the deep crevices, are you going to fall down in deep crevices? Are you going to go through the fire to be purified, etc.? You go through fire also. That's part of culture, right? You go through fire to make pure gold. You go through the fire to make diamonds. And then after you burn up diamonds, and they go through pressure and all that, and they get burned, then you got to go through, once they get burned, then you got to figure out if they can handle pressure. Then you got to figure out if they can be cut, so you got to be cut for this, so to speak, right? White people say it like, what's the term that they use? Use the term back in the day. I like the cut of your jib or something like that, right? That's it. But in our culture, you got to be cut like diamonds. Diamonds. You find diamonds when they're not diamonds, or even naturally, what happens is they go through a place of being burned, usually, or going through some process where some kind of heat is applied. Once some heat is applied, then you go through a process of basically seeing if they can handle the pressure. And then you see if it can handle the pressure. Once it does, then you still have to cut it into whatever shape it is that you'd like it to be, right? No, I hear you, Boone. I was just, I read the comments, and I'm very micro, so it's more so for me than it is for you. I appreciate it. So I'll probably come back to what you're saying at some point later today and probably be studying it. So I kind of speak it, and I do like a mental map in my mind, so I can stow it away somewhere, and somehow, some way during the day, I get little reminders from the Most High, and I go, oh yeah, Boom was talking about blah blah. Let me go and check it out, and see what he was trying to say, or pray about it, So I appreciate you. Hopefully, it's not coming off as anything other than that. So nevertheless, we have to be in this position where vision comes first, and whose vision is it, right? How is it being established, right? How is it? How does it get established? You said you do the same thing, yeah. So how are we establishing it, and through whose prism, whose lens is it being established through? So this year, like check this out. We have a decision to make. Are we going to have the same argument where it's the black man's fault, it's the black woman's fault, it's the Israelite man's fault, is the Israelite woman's fault, it's the church's fault, is this person's fault, is this, right? Well, let me just say the men and women. Is it the man's fault? Is it the woman's fault? Is it the man's fault? Is it the woman's fault? How about both of us need to get better for each other and reassume the throne? Right? Like, how about that's what we do before we go into a place of repeating the same process, which is not our process, which is not our thought process, which is not the way we think, which is not even our culture. Matter of fact, we're in somebody else's culture in which they try to make sure they set it up to where we don't get paid, and the woman gets paid less than the man, even though she's more educated in America as a whole than the man is, and the man gets less respect. in America than anybody else, even though he's going to be the one as far as hip hop and as far as sports and all these different things that's going to make the money for the United States of America. The number one exports that are going out are coming from things that black people give, right? But we're going to argue about these things with each other to the point to where there's going to be no vision for ourselves. We're arguing through somebody else's lens, right? Men need to be better. Women need to be better. Doesn't mean that either one needs to be blamed. At this point, it is what it is, right? We know when it started. We know that before we were captured and our people were murdered and our people were taught to be afraid of being themselves, before people told us that we had no rights, even though we always had rights, before people told you that you had no culture, even though you were doctors and lawyers and teachers and you went all over the world to do many great things, but they keep telling you that you don't have these things in you or whatever. That's not you. But we know what was done to us, and we know that we were taught to breed before we were taught to be married. We know that we were taught to be about some perverted version of the word of Yah before to actually be about the word of Yah itself. I don't know what's going on, why it's making so much noise. We know that these things happen. So at this point, what do we do, right, to make sure that we start getting together? There's got to be a vision, right? The vision is, I'm not going to blame you, because even if, like, and we got to take accountability. There's some things we've done to hurt each other. At the end of the day, though, are we ever going to try and reconcile? Or are we going to keep getting beat upside the head? Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Chill Pill, how you doing? Yeah, you got to look in the mirror, right? But even in looking in the mirror, then you got to look at that mirror. That mirror comes to a societal view. And so that individual is going to take care of society. That society is going to take care of that individual too. So taking it deeper, you know, because Chill Pill has a lot of deep thoughts and in-depth things, and he kind of leaves some things there for us to kind of go through. And I appreciate him for, you have to recognize and realize that this thing is going to happen due to what? These things are going to happen due to what? It's going to happen due to you being in position. It's going to happen due to you having a vision. What is your vision? Is your vision to go through this, do another year, having the same arguments with your brother and your sister? Or is this year going to be the year where you live inside of breaking that generational curse? Getting past Deuteronomy chapter 28, what is it, starting at verse 54, where men are tender and unprepared, and we were messed up. And then when you got that out of order, now the women are tender and they're messed up, and we got them out of order. Now the children are tender and unprepared, and now we have to mess up. At some point, somebody got to say, I'm tired of making sure that we're unprepared. What is the vision plan? And that's why we do what we do. That's why we offer all the stuff that we offer, because there has to be a vision at some point that says it's got to be greater than you. Not greater than you, excuse me. It's got to be greater than what we're in currently. Sir Stephen said, yes, it's long overdue for men and women to come together. Most definitely. Glad you came across it too, Healing. Thanks for being on. So yeah, you've got to get to a place, and thank you to everybody once again for being on, for your likes, for shares, for being part of the community. Any gifts or anything that you give, they're much appreciated. We thank you and we appreciate you for being on. Right? At some point, we got to say to ourselves, like, when do we put a vision plan into position? And by the way, there's so many people out here that do have vision. And that's part of the problem, is we're so against each other that when somebody comes up with vision, we're more likely to start trying to scrutinize. And I get it, because there's false people out here. There's false teachers. There's false leaders. There's people who are messing things up in the diaspora all over the place. I get it. Study to show yourself approved, and try every spirit by the spirit. Try everything. Don't just do it just because you like somebody or like this and that, or because they say support. Obviously, you study them, but start studying people and start looking for people to actually be great. Stop looking to only tear down whatever. You're not going to find one perfect sister. You're not going to find one perfect brother out here. You're going to find somebody that's got something that they need help with. Well, guess what? If they need help with it, or it doesn't do everything, or they might need to be held accountable, maybe you need to be part of what that person's doing, because you can be the person to say, hey, I can help you with that, because that's not going to be good enough for us. If it's not good enough for me, it might not be good enough for 50% of the people that's coming in. So how about you let me do this, or at least allow me to suggest it, right? And those of you who are in a leadership position of whatever, right, leading whatever environment you're leading, you have to listen to the people who are going to come in and give you constructive criticism. It's necessary. It's required. It's needed for us to go from where we are to where we're supposed to be, right? It's required. It's necessary for us. We have to get to a place we can do those things. Right? But it's going to start with vision, and it's going to start with being committed to vision. It's going to start with vision and start with a commitment to said vision. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody who's coming on. Peace be upon everybody. Prayerfully, everybody's doing well, right? And starting their New Year's journey as far as being in this culture that we're in but not of, right? Starting this journey. That's why we call it a transition. We use January to Passover to transition from last year, which is the year of pursuit, into this year where we're living in that which we have pursued, right? And even once again, going to that, how are you going to pursue something if you can't see it? And how are you going to see it if you don't have the vision? Like, whose eyes are you looking through, right? What is your oracle, so to speak? Whose eyes are you looking through? That's why it's important, right? Whose eyes are you looking through? Whose vision do you have? Whose vision do you carry? When you look at your brother or your sister, for example, when I hear, this is just being honest, this is honest conversation, right? Talking about vision. When I hear when I hear somebody, sister, when I hear you telling your brother that he's not great enough because he doesn't make sure that he doesn't make sure that he loves and cherishes you. He doesn't make sure that he supports you. He doesn't make sure you're getting paid, all these things. I listen to you, I hear you, and we need to be better. However, one of the things I always present is, well, how does he ensure you get paid if he doesn't have land of his own, if he doesn't have business of his own, right? How does he ensure that you as his sister gets paid, right? You're arguing about the wrong person, right? You're arguing through somebody else's prism. That person who owns everything and can give you whatever he wanted tells you be mad at your husband because he's not giving you everything that's wanted, and doesn't tell you that your husband oftentimes is not being treated with respect himself. And so you have two people that are being disrespected, and so you come at him, and then he does vice versa. Well, if it was white women out here doing this and blah blah whatever, not understanding that stuff. Like, look up affirmative action. Who got the most out of affirmative action? It was white women. But these white women who you say that black men, or that black men are thinking that they should be under, and all these things or whatever, understand, like, black men don't understand these white women actually were taken from you and taken from your woman, and then had your argument with each other. And then at the same time, while taking your money, they were the number one opponents. So they got the most out of affirmative action, but they also fought you the most on affirmative action. Think about that, right? The people, that's why I have an issue with feminism. When somebody says all of us should be feminists and stuff, and there's some people that I really admire who call themselves feminists. I will never be a feminist. Angela Davis taught us, right? That she taught our sisters, and she taught her little brothers. Angela Davis taught us. She said that we should never, black women should not take on somebody else's, oppression, basically. Right? Angela Davis, one of the greatest to ever do it. You want to talk about Black Panthers? You want to talk about what is it they call it? Colorism, or what's the other one? I forget what the other one is that they call it, but she basically, yeah, intersectionality. Yeah, she said, hey, don't take on somebody else's issues. Like, you're taking, when you take on feminism, you're taking on their issues. But we fight so much amongst ourselves that we can't even catch our older sister, who's been in this longer than all of us, is saying, hey, don't do that. Don't get involved with that. Matter of fact, one of the big things that's been on here, that's been the issue is, I had, you do duets on TikTok. So I've done duets with brothers who say, hey, woman's going to be a reflection, your wife's going to be a reflection of you. Hey, make sure that you treat women with respect. Hey, make sure that you listen to women, all these different things, right? Then there's a woman, a black woman, who's on. And after I'm doing all this, I got stuff on there, protect black women, songs about it, say her name, all these different things. Then a black woman, not just any woman and not a man, a black woman comes on and says, this is why your man's probably not listening to you. And I listen to it, I study it, I think about it, I say, man, you know what, that's right. That's righteous. She says some great stuff, right? She's not saying be a doormat. She's just saying, hey, men like to be respected and heard. Maybe you should listen to him the same way you want to be listened to, and he might listen to you. Like, in other words, he doesn't want to hear anything I have to say. or he doesn't want to. I'm sorry, not hearing anything I had to say. You know, the conversation a lot of times with people is, well, my man, my husband, he's not sharing things with me. He doesn't share things with me. Well, if he shares something with you and always hears why he's wrong and doesn't even feel like he gets to finish, you know, because a lot of times men don't even speak. And when we do speak, we're like, okay, now I'm speaking for the first time. Hear me. Right. I might go on a ramble, but I don't speak. I let you speak. I don't say anything to you. I'm happy go lucky, whatever you say, blah, blah. So now I'm saying something, just hear me. And then after that, you can tell me I'm wrong, this and that, but at least let me get it out my mouth. And so a black woman is saying this, right? And what happened? It wasn't black men. A lot of men and black men, not just black men, a lot of men came to this woman's defense, or had to come to her defense, but simply just were sharing what she said, and we had to start coming to her defense because a black woman simply said, "Hey, listen to your men." And a lot of black women, their first response was, "We ain't gonna listen to nobody. Don't listen to us," and this and that, blah blah. So it's like, okay, where do we go from there? If that's the vision that you have, is that I'm not going to even give any men, because all men apparently are these despicable creatures that don't listen. None of us apparently are trying to be good husbands. None of us teach our sons to be kings and proper, and not be these fake me out gentlemen, but actually be these real kings and princes, and study what it is to be a man, and make sure they're qualified and come from our own culture and come from our own lens and our own prism. But can't even hear that. Right? A lot of people, a lot of our own women couldn't even hear that, and we're arguing and fighting. Not just, and then here's the crazy part: especially when people started coming at me when I was just simply defending the sister, and they say stuff like, "See, you're the problem. You're not listening." And I don't even think I said this on the live. But the thing that messed with me the most is that I'm actually, when you're so busy telling me, the person who has all this stuff about honoring their women and honors my wife and make sure people comprehend my wife comes first, and make sure I talk about my experiences with chauvinism in the past, where I was introduced to things and I had to quickly get those things out of my mind if I wanted to be somebody of any value to our community, because men and women have to both be valued in the community. All these different things that are said. Forget all that. The fact that you wouldn't even study any of that or look up any of that, or that the fact that I was telling them, I agree with you that men need to be great, but better, and we need to get into our greatness, however we need to be listened to, all that to the side, is the one thing that hurt, that was interesting to me. I was going to say hurt me, not really, kind of messed with my heart a little bit though, if I be honest, was that all these sisters saying this stuff, they didn't understand. They weren't arguing with me. They put it on me, but all I did was share what another black woman did. And by defending and protecting a black woman's point of view, they were telling me why I'm the problem. Right? And really what happened is they didn't like the fact that a black woman came out and said, "Hey, black men, black women, let's get over fighting with each other. Let's actually have a vision where we come together." Right? And then she came up with a second video. And this time I didn't defend the second video, right? Because then it gets to a place, that's what happens. You get tired and you can't even really defend and have conversation with your own people, right? But I had to then defend it. I just basically put up a second video where she basically put out, hey, you guys missed the whole point. You begin to argue with me and do all this stuff, and all I simply said was, listen to your husband. Listen to your man. That's all I said, and you guys came at me from the left and the right and said all types of stuff, and were trying to get me canceled and all this stuff because I said, listen to your man, right? Think about like how that happens. And there are women who will come, there are men that will come out and defend women. And just like I talked about before, there's a young brother, not too long ago, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago, maybe at the most, a young brother comes out and says, "Hey, your wife is a reflection of you, so be better for your wife." And the first thing that happens, brothers come at this brother, and came at me because they couldn't get to the brother, right? They, people come at me for whatever reason. I guess they feel like they don't want to deal with the person, and especially because I probably have a smaller following now, even though we're bigger, but as far as the numbers you see, because we're starting over again, so people just come and they're like, okay, we're going to attack you, and so they're like, see, this is stupid. You're the problem. Why are you doing all this stuff? Women aren't perfect, blah, blah. Nobody said women are perfect. That's not what he said. If anything, he said she's going to become a reflection of you. So if you want her to be perfected, perfect yourself, because you're supposed to be the king. Then if you say you're the king, heavy is the head that wears the crown. That's what you got in for. Like, that's what you got into. That's what you signed on the dotted line for. That's what you promised in front of all those witnesses and everything, right? You promised that you were going to make sure that you gave her an environment that she felt secure in. You promised that you were going to make sure that you became a provider. You promised that you would, right? Like, a lot of brothers don't even want to provide, but they want to be upset when their wife is sitting there saying, hey, we don't have enough. Well, if she's going to be under you and you're not going to provide, but then it's like, well, then they start getting to this stuff where isn't she supposed to be independent, blah, blah. No, she's supposed to be interdependent. And if you want her to listen to you and submit, she got to have something worthy of submitting to. That's vision, right? But what happens is, because we can't even come together on a simple vision of, let's start building actual men. Let's start building actual fathers. Let's start building actual husbands. Let's start building actual women. Let's start building actual mothers. Let's start building actual wives, and let's start making sure our children are raised by them with us being together, united as a family. Instead of that being the vision is to stay division, or stay in division, to stay divided, to have more than one vision. And that's why we're in the dichotomy that we're in, right? That's why we are in the delusion, or delusion, if you will, right, that we're in. We are delusional because we are in division. We cannot see. We are a generation of people. We are a generation of relationships where we have eyes to see and can't see, and ears to hear and cannot hear. It's not about becoming one. And that's the most important of all commandments. Yeshua HaMashiach said that. He said that himself. What is the most important of all commandments? Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 is what he quoted, right? Hear, O Israel. Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Elohim Aleph, for he is one, and you must honor him, you must love him, you must achaba him, you must have the actions of Abba, Bad, At, Ruach. You must have those actions, you must love him with all your lab, your passion, and your heart, and your soul, and your mind, and your strength. Right? That's the first and greatest of all commandments. And then the second like it is this. Right? The first 4 commandments even are in that first one. Now, the second like it, the next 6 commandments, all 10 commandments is this. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Honor your father and your mother. Don't lie to your neighbor. Don't steal from your neighbor. Don't kill your neighbor. Don't commit adultery on or with your neighbor. And don't covet what your neighbor has. Right? And he said, be whole, be one, and hear. Hear is different than listening, by the way. You know, hear is talking about perceiving. Right? Perception. Hearing is, I'm going through the exercise of trying to make sure that through a lens I can properly have empathy, and I can properly be able to say back what somebody's saying and see if it's something that I should go ahead and use in my walk. Right? But a lot of people are only listening. Listening is actually when you're just going through the motion of, like, the vibrations happen on the eardrum and all that. Listening is just the fact that you can hear, right? Or you have the ability to hear. But hearing is, I'm making it a point to actually stop and digest what's going on. And a lot of us can't do that. And because we won't do that, we don't have a vision to do that. We don't even listen to people that well amongst each other. So no wonder our men and our women continue to be in this Willie Lynch syndrome. And Willie Lynch told you that he was using Deuteronomy 28. He told you that we were going to take the small things and make them bigger. He told you they were going to make sure that they had people unprepared or tender. He told you that they were going to make sure that they dealt with the man first and killed him off, or killed off the main men, and then the men that were, they felt to be not as much of a threat, they were going to almost kill them, but not kill them, so that they would be afraid and live in fear, and that the woman would look at him with respect, and therefore would be in a frozen state and talk about how independent she is, and raise her daughters and her sons to be in reverse roles of what they should be. But he also told you the only anomaly that's out there, that he and other experts, because they had people studying you, he said the only thing that's really going to get them out of this, that we've studied, that we've come across, is if they come into knowledge of themselves. He told us all these things. You have to start with a vision. And we're in division so much that we can't even be in one vision. I'm sorry, Healing said, I'm new to TikTok, not sure how to use the functions just yet. Don't know how to send likes. I think it's just a like is just as basic as you can double tap or just tap on the screen. I think if you tap on the screen, that's how you share a like. And thank you for that, by the way. Hey, Grand Rise and everybody coming on, we appreciate you. Minister Tamara said, listening and obeying are different. Be hearers and doers of Yahweh's word. Amen. Right? It's obedience is better than sacrifice. Thank you, Chill Pill. Appreciate it. Earthy Goddess says, exactly. This is what my partner and I have been working on, but it's him listening to me now. It feels great to be heard now. It's a deeper connection. Yeah, and for both to be heard. And really, even when before you even get into your love languages, you got to remember that first things first, men's number one need is to be heard, or some people will call it to be respected, right? And women's number one need is usually, not always, but usually going to be security, right? To feel secure, right? That's how I saw somebody talking about this, and they were talking about how irritated they were. I think there's a comedian on YouTube. I think his name is Long Beach Griffey or whatever, but he basically echoed the same thing other people was. It wasn't even a skit. He was just speaking on some stuff, and he said that he couldn't stand how women do this, and he was watching an episode. I don't know what the episode is. I don't know if it was a Real Housewives of somewhere or whatever. I don't know, but he was watching some episode where there was a woman, had her own business and stuff like that, and she was saying, and she makes, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year easily, and she was talking about how she doesn't like when when men don't pay for the meal or whatever. And he was like, I can't understand it. You make this money. Why is it such a big deal? Well, why can't you just pay for it? Matter of fact, like, why would you go out with somebody knowing you make more money than them and they won't pay for the meal, blah, blah. And he wasn't comprehending that even with all that money that she makes, she's still looking for security. She's not worried about the paying of the meal. See, we think the paying of the meal is because she wants you to just make more money. She could care less if you make more money or not or whatever, as far as where she's at that point, because she's in a position where she can take care of herself in that place. But what she's saying is that, hey, I like security. So when somebody takes me out and they pay for the meal, even though I could pay for both easily, when you pay for it, you're showing me that you want to make me feel secure. Now, are there other ways that a woman can feel secure just besides money? Sure. But you've got to have that conversation with her, right? What makes her feel secure? Her number one need is to know that when push comes to shove, her number one need is to know, what if she stopped making that money? Would you be in a position to help take care? Right? She might be able to start making more, but what if she decides she doesn't want to work anymore? She wants to be a stay-at-home mom. Will you be able to secure her? That's where she's coming from, right? And at the same time, the brother needs to be respected and heard where he is too. It's something like that is causing us to continue to be ripped apart at the very fabric of our society and of our culture, because we keep looking through other places and looking for somebody. Hey, Shalom Ach, how you doing? Baba Kashat, thank you to everybody who's on, by the way. We appreciate you. Shabbat Shalom to everybody who's on. Hey, Mika, how you doing? Millie says, you're still working on this, had to do this on your own for so long. Used to doing things by yourself. It's a challenge. Doing things with someone else. Yeah, and it's becoming one, right? And it's a process, because before you even become, like, while you're still single, you should be your best self. But a lot of us too, we don't have a husband, wife, or interdependent type life with the Most High, right? So our relationship, we don't even think about it being a mirror of what we should already have with the Most High. I, as a husband, should be empathetic with my wife, because I should be a wife, so to speak, right? Spiritually speaking, to the Most High. So if I know what it is that the Most High does for me, and I know what I'm supposed to do for him, therefore it should be easy for me to then take that and say, okay, since my husband takes care of me in all these ways and does all these things and wipes my tears and makes me feel great and reminds me of how great I am and gives me the gift and helps me develop the gift and helps me to develop the business and stuff. Okay, so I should do the same for my wife, right? My husband in the spirit, right, says, hey, I want you to speak in front of kings, and I'm bringing you before kings. Your gift will make room for you. You'll be able to travel. You'll be able to do these things. I'm going to bring things in your life that have been broken. I'm going to bring them all together because I love you that much. Well, then I should be able to make sure that I'm trying to do something in my wife's life very similar. If the Most High had to teach me, whatever it is, right, that I should be able to transition. And watch this, as a woman who's getting qualified to become a wife pre-marriage, right? Because you're supposed to be qualified as a husband or a wife in our culture before you get married, right? Just like before you drive, you get that driver's license. For those who drive and don't travel, before you drive, you get that driver's license, right? Before you do nails, you make sure you get that license. Before you do hair, you get that license, right? Before you do tattoos, you get that license. But you should before you're more worried about tattoos, you should probably be more worried about being qualified as a husband and a wife and knowing what the opposite's supposed to be doing as well. So same thing, right? And I talked about the husband already. You talk about the wife. The wife is already a wife to the Most High. So all she's doing is transitioning, and that's why it says in Ephesians 5:22, submit yourselves to what? Your own husband, not to just the man, but somebody who is going to take ownership of his position, and you take ownership of your position, and therefore your own, right? What you take ownership over your husband, right? And he takes ownership over you, his wife, and he's in position, right? It says, submit unto him as unto Adon, as unto the Lord, as unto Yahweh. In other words, as he's doing what the Most High says, and he's in position, then if you're submitting to him, you're not submitting to him, you're submitting to someone who's just simply the conduit from the Most High to you. Your husband is in essence really a conduit, right? He's in essence, he's a doorway, so to speak, right, from the Most High to you, right? It says that the same way for husbands, love your wives as Yahshua loved the assembly and gave himself for it, right? So Yahshua said what? He said, I am the door. That's right. So you as a husband are supposed to be the door to what? Kingdom principles and statutes and requirements and even blessings. You're supposed to be a conduit. So if my wife is with me, she should feel blessed just simply because she's with me, because I do what I'm supposed to do. And when she feels that way, then she says, okay, because you make me feel better, because you've helped me with this, because you're honoring me, because every time I'm around you, there's a positive experience attached. And even when we have our issues, because you still deal with me respectfully, you know what I'm going to do? I will submit to that. I'm not going to be a doormat, but I will submit to that. Submission also to that means it's going to come with some constructive criticism sometimes. Sometimes it's going to come with me telling you that I might not agree with everything you're saying. Sometimes it might come with, I need you to answer a question. Like if we are going to something, it's okay every once in a while to pray to the Most High and say, hey, can you show me this? Can you make sure that the dew is on the ground before we go into battle? Can you show me something? Hey, I know you said that I'm supposed to get my house in order. Can I pray to you and you give me 14 more years, right? I know that I'm not supposed to touch you or whatever, but I'm going to go by faith and I'm going to touch just the hem of your garment and I'll stand up and stop having the issue of blood for the first time in 12 years. Those are things like that we should already have. That's vision. But a lot of people, once again, do not have vision of where we're supposed to go. And when you don't have a vision of where you're supposed to go, you're in trouble. You said men must learn culture to lead. Yeah, and to set an environment. Matter of fact, when you as a man understand that your job is not to really be over your wife, but to be over your environment, and you set up an environment that your wife will feel comfortable in, you'll find a lot of things naturally happen. Remember, Adam was placed in the Garden of Eden. Eve was created in the garden, right? So Adam is supposed to know certain things that go in the garden and outside of the garden. Eve's just supposed to know what's in the garden. Right, not saying just no, but you know what I'm saying. Like she's built, she's framed even different. Like the Bible says that man was like, shaped basically, or like he was basically made flat, so to speak, when you look at the language. But it says the woman was shaped in a way, she was formed in a way, like she was built in a certain specific manner. Right, she's supposed to house certain things. She is a garden herself. Right, her biblically speaking, the woman's womb. In vaginal area and stuff is actually referred to as a garden. So but that's us having a vision. I don't know why. I guess we went into marriage, but marriage is going to be a big piece of your vision too. I'm sorry. Dennis said when our women realize what was done to them, they will need our support as men. That's very true as well. And that's what we're talking about, support. Also said exactly, are you the man that can make me feel secure? That's right. As a woman, that's what she's asking. Are you, if you're saying you want all this stuff from me, fine. Can you make me feel secure? Because women react to security. When a woman feels secure, she naturally goes to a place of, hey, whatever secures me, I'll stay within it. And that's just makes sense, right? If it's raining outside and somebody gives you an umbrella, she'll stay under the umbrella, right? She's not going to be like, well, you know what, I got my hair done and everything and I spent all this money, but I'm going to just go ahead and hold the umbrella and I'm going to leave it closed, but I'll just hold it. No, like if you give her an umbrella, she's going to stay under the umbrella, right? If you are the umbrella, she'll stay underneath. But if you got holes in an umbrella, or if you got an umbrella that's child size, it's immature, it's not big enough, it doesn't cover the body, then why would you use the umbrella? These are just things that are sensical, but we don't think about it culturally. Once again, we're not thinking about these things as far as vision and how they're going to help for things down the road. We're thinking about this in other ways, in other regards, through other lenses. Hey, Chanel, how you doing? I'm doing well. Good to see you on. You found us again. Thanks for being part of the community. Well, you always were, but thanks for doing it through TikTok. You said, how strong is asset needs a support system? I didn't quite understand what you were saying. You need to give assets, or we need to have resources to give to be, or we need to be a better support system. But yes, we have to realize that. Let me see something. Earthy said exactly this is. Oh, okay. All right. We already. Oh, John said people tend to be judgmental. Yeah, and they judge off of a standard, and we got to make sure that what is the standard. And by the way, if you're going to judge through that standard, do you judge through the standard, the prism that you're willing to live by? That's a big deal as well, too, right? Do you actually live by or live through that standard? Are you willing to live through that standard? Thank you, Sister Therese. Yeah, if you don't be upset when your wife says, "I'm trying to use you as an umbrella, bro," but you child size. I need you to get some things together. Like, we don't like to hear it, but that's basically what she's saying. Like, I'm trying to be under you. You say you want to be under you, fine. I'm trying to put you up, and whenever I put you up, it ain't working. Or hey, I need I forget what you call it. What is it in French when they have the umbrellas that are to keep the light off you or something, or keep the sun off you?
Oh, parasol.
Parasol, parasol, something like that. Okay, parasol. So yeah, so parasol. If I'm using you to block out light, and you don't block out light, right? If I need an umbrella to block out light, but you're opaque, then it's not going to work, right? Like, I need you to ensure that I can, be covered, whatever it is. But I mean, it's funny. It's a funny visual, but the reality is like a lot of men are out here, and they're not really men. Matter of fact, we're not men yet, let alone husbands, let alone fathers, and trying to cover people. Oh, thank you very much. We're doing better. You can probably hear I'm doing a lot better. I'm definitely not coughing as much. Millie says, "Thank you. I just needed to see it from a different lens sometimes." Yeah, amen. Yeah, and it's a part of the process. And here's on the flip side. I've talked about this with men. So talking about women with the umbrella. We talked about this with men a lot too. Where have you ever noticed that when a man has a car, I don't care how old the car is, the man likes to wash the car. He likes to make sure it's clean, right? Usually, I won't say always, but usually a man's going to be better about keeping his vehicle clean than his wife is. You know why he puts so much effort and energy into the vehicle? So, why he puts so much effort and energy into the lawn? Why he puts so much effort and energy into, video games and keeping them clean and stuff and all that. Like, I don't care if it's back in the day a Nintendo cartridge that he was cleaning out the inside of, or if it's, a disc that he's keeping or whatever. Now, the reason he does is because that it serves him well, right? Women are going to submit naturally to things that make them feel secure. Men are going to love or serve things naturally, or submit to things naturally that submit to them. So if the car is an old 1995 neon with the paint coming off of it, he's going to make sure he still washes it and keeps it because it serves him. So even if it's rusty, he's still going to wash the rust, right? He's still going to try to find whatever he can to keep it from rusting further, right? Also, he's going to make sure that he puts wax on it. You're going to be like, there's barely any paint left on it. What you waxing? But he's going to put wax on the little pieces of paint. You know why? Because it served him. We laughed and joked about this, but, brothers, we wear underwear till the underwear completely falls apart. And our wives be looking at us like that's creepy. You know why we're still wearing the underwear? Because it serves us. It's just it's a nature. It's his nature that what serves him, he's going to make sure that he keeps and that he's going to respect. He's going to keep it up the best he can. Whatever serves him. If he's got holes in some of his clothes, he's going to still wear the clothes with the holes in them because they served him. Sometimes men, as much as we talk about women, sometimes it's hard for men to give their clothes that they don't even wear anymore to Goodwill or something like that. But the reason is because they served him. So when he's giving away his stuff, he's making a commitment to somebody else saying, hey, when he gives away clothes, he says, this served me well. I'm hoping it'll serve you. So when you go through that, that's like the spirit behind a lot of that stuff. I'm not trying to say women don't do any of this. I'm not saying only men do. I'm trying to tell you that men, that's how your man, that's what his nature is. That's what his nature is. His nature is to serve whatever serves him. So And that's what being a king is, by the way, right? I serve whatever serves me. And a lot of times I give the service first. So if I buy a vehicle, and as soon as I buy a vehicle, I don't wait for the vehicle to get old before I start taking care of it. As soon as I buy it, first day I have it, first week I have it, whatever, I'm taking that thing and I'm gonna make sure I wash it. I'm gonna make sure I get those rims. No, thank you, H2O. I'm gonna make sure I get those rims done. Right, I'm gonna make sure that I vacuum out stuff. I'm gonna make sure that I look in the trunk. I'm gonna make sure I keep the trunk clear. I'm gonna do a lot of things first, and I'm gonna keep that up. Why? Because whatever serves me, I gotta serve it. So I'll serve it first, even before it gets a chance to serve me that much. I'll serve it first because I would like for this thing to be in my life. Right, I'll serve my wife first, even before she's my wife. I'll make sure that I do things that are there, and where we're getting ready through all the phases that are necessary to get us to a place where we are married, right? Or even those who walk down the aisle and do marriage that way and all that stuff. We're working on all these different things. Why? Because at some point, I'm putting this stuff in you. I'm showing you who I am. I'm giving you my my portfolio to show you what my vision and things are. I'm telling you, I'm planning my whole life to try and make sure that you feel secure. I'm doing those things because I know that if I serve you well, I expect as a man. All right, let's get into expectations even when we talk about this vision, right? Because vision should come with expectation. So as a man, I expect that when I serve you, that I'm going to get service back in return. That's why you're a reflection of me, because I know that if I give you something great of value, if I put that emotional gas, so to speak, that emotional gasoline, that petrol or whatever inside of the gas tank, inside of the tank, I have an expectation that you will drive, right? If I make sure that your oil is changed, that you get certain things that you need and you're not on the same stuff over and over again and not feeling like you're getting a chance to be able to, get stuff put back into you that you're giving to me and nobody's helping you to feel clean or legal in certain areas or whatever. If I know I have to give you those things, so I'm going to do those things. I'm going to do all the things necessary because whatever I feel is going to serve me down the road, I know I have to serve it. And so men are wired. We're wired that way to serve. So if you say, man, my husband's not doing this, first of all, you got to see if you have a husband. This is always, there's always qualifications to this, right? So if you don't have a husband, if you married a little boy, or just married a man, but he's not qualified to be a husband yet. If you marry somebody who's not qualified to be a father yet, some of this stuff goes out the window, and he might have to go through a learning process, and you might still have to encourage him or sometimes challenge him, depending, to help him to get there, right? You're to help me. Nevertheless, though, like when you marry a husband, or you're married to a husband, or your man becomes a husband, whatever it is, he is wired to serve what serves him. And so you feel like your husband, I'm not talking about a little boy, I'm talking about not one of these grown little boys or whatever, or men in husband's clothing, like you got wolves in sheep's clothing, you got men in husband's clothing, right? Or little boys in grown men clothing. But I'm talking about an actual show enough husband. If you have one of those, right, or you're looking to become one with one of those, because you should be pre-qualified before you meet him. Once you get with him, understand that if you like, man, why is he not like doing this or doing that? One of the first things you should ask yourself as a woman is, am I actually like, is he serving me, or was he serving me at a point and I didn't give him back anything because he gave me something of value and was expecting something back so that he could then give me something else and he can get something back, right? Like if I give you gas, then I expect that we're going to drive a certain amount or travel a certain amount. If I give you oil change, I expect that certain things, even the way that the engine sparks and everything when I turn it on, will be different, right? If I change the spark plugs on the car, I expect that all of a sudden the connection is going to be a lot better, and it's not going to take, sometimes the reason you're going to before it finally, clicks on, instead of just going and it is on, you get that it's because that you're having issues with the sparks. If I've changed out the brake fluid, I expect the brakes are going to be different, right? If I change out the brakes, I expect that it's going to drive different. If I put brand new tires on the car, I expect that I'm going to have to matter of fact, I'm going to even have to learn how to serve you better, because now that all the tires are brand new and I got grip, it might drive different than if two of the tires were bald and I was just simply, rotating the tires, and I knew that eventually now that I got 4 new tires, I got to relearn how to drive the vehicle. So I've got to learn how to reserve you again, because I made you better than what you were. I made sure that you were salvaged, and I'm bringing you back as close as I can every time to the original intent. And these are things that go on. We don't think about these things, right? Just like as men, we're not thinking about the fact that our women are not covered. she's only got that child's umbrella, and she's a grown woman trying to use a 2-year-old umbrella. Here you are with a 2-year-old mentality trying to cover your wife, and it's a downpour outside. It's raining from the sides. And you become mature enough to not only be an umbrella, can you be a big umbrella? Can you be one of those big, huge umbrellas that actually comes down on the side as well? Can you cover her even when the rain is coming from the side, right? Like, how developed are you in covering her? This is all vision. We're coming from a place where we're trying to figure out why marriages don't work and why relationships don't work and why we're still, even if we say he's a good father, she's a good mother, but I can't be with it, well, it's because we haven't been prepared. So this year, whatever your vision is, it's got to be something that you keep all these things in place. Or whatever your goals, whatever your vision is, you have to have this vision, and now you got to have this purpose. Every day, I'm making sure that I'm doing something that comes out of my culture. But stop, and do yourself a favor. If you don't know where you're headed, take time out to start writing it out. If you want to deal with some stuff, I can help with some life coaching, some things like that, some marital coaching as well. But you better know where you're headed. If you don't know where you're headed, you're going to have issues. If you don't know where you're headed, you're going to have issues. It's going to start with vision. All right. Amen. Read a couple more of these, and we're going to take our leave. We're going to get ready to go on the podcast, on the Kofi Ofori podcast. On Podbean. If you want to join us live, you have to have the Podbean app. If you don't want to join us live, you can listen to some other point, but we'll be doing that at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern, New York time. Let's see. Chanel said it seems as if younger men are coming on board and the older ones aren't. Yeah, I don't know which one is which statistically, but there are definitely a lot of young men that are coming on board with that. It's because that, they're having an environment where they're hearing this stuff for the first time. A lot of older men understand if you're an older man and you're hearing this stuff, it's actually a lot of times harder for the older man to get it together. You would think it wouldn't be, but imagine if you 70 years of your life you were taught chauvinism, and then somebody comes by and age 71 and tells you everything you learned for 70 years is not correct. Now imagine being somebody that at 17 has been taught this stuff, but then you turn 18 and you're watching videos. It's a lot easier to undo one than it is the other. Both of them are their entire lives, but 18 years is a lot easier to undo than 70 years. Right? Healing says that was so much information for every woman to hear right now. Amen. And for us brothers too. You said, yeah, shalom to family and who believe as we believe in our culture. Serve and support each other. Amen. You said when Ruth laid at Boaz's feet, was that cultural? So to be at somebody's feet, I mean, she took it above and beyond. And that was because she saw what Boaz did. She went back and told Naomi about it, and Naomi was like, "Oh, Boaz sounds like that's a husband." So she was like, "Well, since that sounds like he's a husband, I want you to present yourself as a wife and as a super wife." And so that's what she did. But to lay at somebody's feet, she laid at his feet, but to sit at somebody's feet, that's an act that just basically culturally is speaking to, you're willing to learn from somebody. So to lay at his feet the way that she did, she took it to the next level. But basically, or even if you look up Isaac and Rebecca, when Rebecca comes to Isaac, Rebecca is, wearing all her stuff and wearing her nose ring and wearing her jewelry, and the way it's described, she probably had like some stuff chained from here to her ear and some other things, and she rushes, and they've never met each other, but they're going to become husband and wife, or they're going to become each other's husband and wife. They're already pre-qualified as husband and wife, and Rebecca goes out and she bows down to Isaac, and that was her saying that I heard about you. I know about Abraham. I know where you come from. I know who's with you. I know you believe in the Most High. And so I'm willing to show you above and beyond. I wanted to show you that because I know you're a husband, I want you to see that since you go above and beyond, I'm willing to go above and beyond too. And then if you look at it, Isaac himself actually didn't leave her down there. Like Isaac was, flattered and everything. But he's like, hey, you can get up and we're going to walk this together. Right, but those are super examples. There's examples of men doing things very similar to where, like even Dinah, who people have been lied to and told that Dinah was raped, but actually, if you look at the story of, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to use that term, Dinah, she was forced to lay down with her, the guy who was with her, but the reality is that the Bible says that he loved her and she loved him, and he went above and beyond in treating her very well. And so that's why they, got married. In essence, sex is marriage, marriage is sex, but they weren't qualified by the parents. That was the issue that Simeon and Levi had. That's why they ended up doing what they did. But yeah, it's just culturally saying that you're willing to, to sit at somebody's feet or to be at somebody's feet is just saying that you're willing to. Like, matter of fact, culturally, Brother Dennis, he blesses me all the time. He comes on live, and in the comment section, he'll always say, sitting at your feet or kneeling at your feet. Now, he's my elder. And I listen to him for a lot of advice and stuff too, but he's my elder. But in essence, what he's saying is, hey, when we get to, he says that because he's trying to remind me, hey, when you start talking, I want you to know that, like, you got support and I'm listening. It's just a cultural thing. So men have done it to each other in the Bible. Women have done it to each other. Women have done it to men. Men have done it to women. It's just a way of saying I'm willing to, to listen to you. Yeah, and also thank you, Minister. And I said she was, Boaz is an older man as well, right? Dennis said my vision for 2022 is to honor our African women ancestors for the gift of life. Amen. Iron Grid, how you doing, sir? Said I'm undoing as we speak and way past my time, as they say, to learn new stuff which really isn't new. Yeah, very much so. Amen. Healing at home. I don't know why I was mistaken what that name was so much earlier. Healing at home says that was so much information. Oh, okay. We already read that. So yeah. So thank you guys for being on. I'm gonna take my leave now. We're getting ready for the podcast. It's gonna be on at 10 a.m. The Kofi 40 podcast. Once again, if you want to join us live for that, you have to be on the Podbean app. If you just want to listen in later to it, you can listen to that on different places with Spotify, Google Play, all types of stuff. I think Apple, but I have to look at it and relook at the stream key thing. But hopefully all those episodes will be coming. Thank you, H2. Somebody put 2022 glasses on me. Thank you. So we appreciate you. Thank you for being on. And we'll talk to you very soon. We should be having, it'll be brief. It'll be very brief. Because I will admit to you, I am extremely tired. So after the podcast, we will try to have a very brief, and I mean brief. So if you want to come on for the meeting, it'll probably only be like 15 minutes or so. But we don't want to go too many weeks in a row without having any kind of meeting, especially to start off the new year. So if you want to come on that, if you need the link, if you want the link for that, let me know. DM us, text us, email us, etc. And then I'm going to need to take some rest for today. And prepare my body for, prepare my body for tomorrow too. Got family day tomorrow after our live tomorrow. Don't forget, classes are coming up January 31st, the week of January 31st. New classes started, so get in contact with us so we can discuss everything and get you guys on board and on track. We got Hebrew characters, basic Hebrew, Sovereignty 1, Sovereignty 2, Natural Medicine 2, Basic French, and Cryptocurrency. If you're interested in any of those classes, let us know, and we can talk about everything offline. If you want more information on things that we're doing, just look in the chat as far as the podcast. When I talked about Podbean, just look in there in the bio or on the TikTok page. The Podbean name, once you go on Podbean and download the Podbean app, the podcast is called The Kofi Ofori Podcast. My name, The Kofi Ofori Podcast. And look it up, and you should see our logo on there. I'm not sure if it's our logo or my face. Either way, though, the logo is shaped like my head, my hair. So you'll recognize it when you see it. But just go ahead and go on there, and we'll be on there at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time. So I'm going to take a little break in between there. Remember that you can follow my wife, the Honorable Maya, at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. Thank you all for being on. We appreciate you all. Thank you for those who were on last night. And are coming from however you were worshiping the Most High last night. Prayerfully, that's what was being done. But we appreciate you all. Thank you for hanging in there and being dedicated. Thank you for any donations or anything you guys have been given to help us with the kingdom or help us with the land. And remember, if you remember about the tincture of the month. I think this month is it Passion? What is it?
It's called I Am Immune.
Okay, so the tincture of this month is I Am Immune, which has what in it?
It has pine and plantain.
Okay, so it has pine and plantain. So pine and plantain. So that's the tincture of the month. So it's going to be a mixture of those two. I am immune. If you'd like to be able to get that tincture, let us know. The tincture of last month was still ginkgo, which we still have. She still has ginkgo and tons of other tinctures. But I am immune is the tincture for this month. Once again with pine and plantain.
Fantago mushroom.
Okay. So I don't know what that is, but but she'll be able to explain it more for us as we go on. But let us know if you want to be able to partake in that as well. So thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of rest. Be back on in the podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time. And after that, we'll have a brief meeting at 11, literally like a 15-minute meeting, just kind of to talk about some things for the new year and give slight updates on some of the stuff we've been talking about as far as the land. Also, to those involved with the Oz Land Project, especially those who are donating, we will have some dates for a meeting for that at some time in the very near future as well. Next week, we'll keep an ear out, or we'll let you guys know what's going to go on for the meeting next week. Next week, we're going to be having another coat drive. So we're not sure exactly, it's supposed to start at 1. So last time when we had the meeting and we had the coat drive, I almost messed it up to where we didn't have the coat drive because I was having issues and I wasn't on time. So we'll figure the meeting out for next week, but we're definitely going to have one today. It'll only be about 15 minutes or so. As you guys have heard for quite some time, I've been dealing with some stuff with voice and everything like that as well. So I'm going to use today and tomorrow to try and catch up on a little bit of rest. And we'll be back on track with everything. Tomorrow will be Q&A, by the way, for those who are in the live. We come on every day for our live at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And we come on every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. So tomorrow we'll be back on at 8 a.m. if this is your first time being with us. And feel free to join us, ask any questions, comments, or concerns. We'll get back into having the Letters We Believe, our series. That'll be part 20. So whatever questions you may have, feel free to bring them, possibly put them in the question mark box. If you're on Facebook, you might need to maybe send them to me through Messenger. If you're on Facebook, maybe you need to send it through me via Messenger or something like that beforehand, and I can look it up. If you're on the podcast, you can just put them in the chat as well. And same thing with IG. So we thank you. We appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, you might want to put them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you. All right. Thank you all. We appreciate you. Check out #FindKofi to find us in different places. Check us out on YouTube to catch up on these things we're doing. We make sure we post the stuff. Check us out on Patreon if you'd like to be able to be with us there as well. And our prayer, as always, is that you not just be hearers of this word, you be doers as well, and give all honor and praise to the Most High in everything that you do. Let's get that vision going, and let's start living in that which we pursued. We thank you. We appreciate you. And as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ. We are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice to the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.